We've built a world where discipline is mocked and indulgence is worshipped. The result? A generation drowning in comfort but starving for meaning. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Each year we sink deeper into the quicksand of convenience. Each generation becomes more fragile than the last. Each decade we witness the slow-motion collapse of the very foundations that built strong humans. This is not a moral judgment. This is an observation. And if we're going to reverse this trajectory, we need to understand exactly how we got here. Once, discipline was noble. It was the mark of warriors, scholars, and leaders. It was how you knew someone was serious, committed, reliable, worth following. In ancient Greece, discipline was sophrosyne, the virtue of self-control and moderation. It was one of the four cardinal virtues, right alongside wisdom, courage, and justice. To be disciplined wasn't seen as restrictive, it was seen as essential to being fully human. In Rome, discipline was disciplina, the root of our modern word. It meant training, instruction, the systematic development of character and capability. Roman soldiers didn't just learn to fight, they learned to control themselves under pressure. They learned to maintain formation when everything in them screamed to run. They learned that discipline was the difference between a mob and an army. In the samurai tradition of feudal Japan, discipline was shugyo, the continuous practice of self-refinement. Samurai understood that their greatest enemy wasn't the opposing army, it was their own fear, their own ego, their own laziness. So they trained relentlessly, not just in combat techniques, but in controlling their minds. Across every culture that produced great civilizations, great leaders, great achievements, you find discipline at the center. It's the common thread, the non-negotiable ingredient. But something happened. Somewhere along the path from then to now, we made a catastrophic shift. We started treating discipline as optional, then uncomfortable, then harsh, then toxic, and now, in large portions of modern culture, discipline is seen as the problem, not the solution. Today, discipline is seen as harsh. We replace effort with excuses and wonder why purpose fades. Think about the language we use now. Someone demonstrates discipline. They wake up early, they train hard, they delay gratification, they maintain standards. And what do we say? That's extreme, that's unhealthy, that's obsessive, you need balance, you're being too hard on yourself. We've pathologized strength, we've medicalized commitment, we've turned dedication into a disorder. And what do we celebrate instead? Self-care, which often means do whatever feels good. Self-love, which often means never criticize yourself. Balance, which often means don't try too hard at anything. We've taken genuinely important concepts, rest, kindness to self, sustainable pace, and twisted them into justifications for avoiding anything difficult. Rest has become avoidance. Self-kindness has become self-indulgence. Balance has become mediocrity. And the most tragic part, people actually believe this is progress. They think we've evolved beyond the old restrictive ways. They think we're more enlightened now, more compassionate, more healthy. But look at the results. Look at the actual outcomes of this experiment in discipline-free living. We have the highest rates of anxiety and depression in recorded history. We have an epidemic of loneliness despite being more connected than ever. We have entire generations unable to focus for more than a few seconds, unable to delay gratification for more than a few minutes, unable to commit to anything for more than a few months. We have people who know what they should do but can't make themselves do it. People who set goals but can't maintain them. People who want to change but can't sustain change. This isn't freedom. This isn't enlightenment. This isn't health. This is the predictable result of abandoning the very thing that makes sustained progress possible. We've traded persistence for instant gratification, patience for pleasure, wisdom for validation. Let's break down what we've lost in this trade.
Persistence is the ability to continue working towards a goal even when progress is slow, when obstacles arise, when motivation fades. It's what turns aspiration into achievement. Without persistence, you have 1,000 started projects and 0 finished ones. You have potential but no results. We traded that for instant gratification, the dopamine hit of immediate pleasure, the like, the click, the swipe, the snack, the purchase, the escape. Each one feels good in the moment, and each one trains your brain to need that immediate reward, making it harder and harder to do anything that requires delayed gratification. Patience is the capacity to tolerate discomfort, uncertainty, and delay without losing your composure. It's what allows you to plant seeds and wait for harvest, to invest effort now for returns later, to endure the awkward learning phase of any new skill. We traded that for pleasure, the constant pursuit of what feels good right now, entertainment over education, distraction over development, comfort over growth. And in that trade, we lost the ability to build anything that takes time, anything substantial, anything that requires you to be uncomfortable for a while before you see results. Wisdom is the deep understanding that comes from experience, reflection, and integration. It's what allows you to see patterns, anticipate consequences, make decisions that serve your long-term interests even when they conflict with short-term desires. We traded that for validation, the approval of others, the external confirmation you're okay, the social proof that you're valuable. And in that trade, we became dependent. We need likes to feel liked. We need follows to feel followed. We need comments to feel seen. We've outsourced our sense of worth to algorithms and strangers. These trades might have felt harmless in the moment, might have felt like liberation, but they weren't. They were surrender, the slow, comfortable surrender of everything that makes humans capable of greatness. The Stoics warned about this. 2,000 years ago, they saw what softness does to the human spirit. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But he also wrote something even more important. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. That waste happens when you don't have discipline, when you let your attention be hijacked by every notification, when you let your time be consumed by activities that don't matter, when you let your energy be drained by things that don't serve your growth. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, understood this at a visceral level. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Read that again. No man is free who is not master of himself. We think freedom means doing whatever you want, having no restrictions, no rules, no standards, just unlimited choice and 0 consequences. But that's not freedom, that's chaos, and chaos doesn't liberate you. It enslaves you to every impulse, every craving, every fleeting emotion. You want to scroll? You scroll. You want to eat? You eat. You want to quit? You quit. You have no buffer between stimulus and response, no space for choice, no capacity to consider whether this immediate desire serves your larger goals. This is not freedom. This is the most profound form of slavery because you don't even recognize it as slavery. You think you're just being yourself, or living authentically, or following your feelings. But you're not following anything. You're being dragged. When you reject structure, chaos becomes your identity. Humans need structure, not because we're weak, but because we're complex. Without structure, the complexity becomes overwhelming. Think about your mind for a moment. You have thousands of thoughts per day, dozens of desires competing for your attention, multiple identities you're trying to balance, professional, personal, social, private. countless decisions to make, many of them contradictory. Without structure, all of that just churns. You're reactive. You respond to whatever's loudest, most urgent, most emotionally charged in the moment. You're not living according to your values. You're not working towards your goals. You're not becoming who you want to be. You're just surviving the chaos, making it through another day, responding to whatever comes at you. And over time, that chaos doesn't just affect your schedule, it becomes your personality. You become someone who can't commit because you never learned to maintain commitment through difficulty. You become someone who can't finish because you never developed the discipline to push through the unglamorous middle of any project. You become someone who can't be trusted because you don't even trust yourself to follow through. The chaos isn't in your circumstances, it's in you. We call it freedom, but it's really addiction to ease. This is the lie at the heart of the modern comfort cult, the idea that freedom means having no constraints, no rules, no discipline, that
The death of discipline is not just personal, it's cultural. But revival begins one person at a time. Here's the good news. This isn't irreversible. Culture is just the accumulated choices of individuals, and when individuals change, culture eventually follows. You can't fix the whole generation. You can't reverse decades of softness overnight, but you can fix yourself. And in fixing yourself, you become an example, a counterpoint, a living proof that there's another way. When one mind chooses consistency over convenience, a ripple begins. When one person demonstrates that discipline doesn't destroy joy, but actually enhances it, others take notice. When one individual builds something substantial through sustained effort, it challenges the narrative that discipline is unnecessary. You become evidence. Evidence that the old ways still work, that structure creates freedom, that discipline builds strength, that delayed gratification produces results that instant gratification never can. So bring back discipline, bring back structure, bring back strength. Not through force, not through shame, not through rigid rules that break the spirit, but through understanding, through practice, through small, consistent actions that compound over time. Start here. Wake at the same time every day. Not because you love mornings necessarily, but because consistency is the foundation of discipline. Your body and mind need rhythm. And when you maintain that rhythm even when you don't want to, you're training yourself that your commitments matter more than your feelings in the moment. Move your body with intention. Exercise isn't about aesthetics. It's about practicing discipline in a domain where feedback is immediate. When you make yourself do one more rep, run one more minute, hold one more second, you're building proof that you can override comfort-seeking impulses. Create before you consume. In a world designed to turn you into a passive consumer, being a creator is an act of rebellion. Before you check social media, before you scroll news, before you watch anything, create something. Write, build, practice, make. Even if it's for 15 minutes. This trains your mind that you're not just here to absorb, but to produce. Practice delayed gratification deliberately. When you want something, food, entertainment, purchase, pause. Wait an hour. Wait a day. Train yourself that wanting something doesn't mean immediately having it. This builds the psychological muscle that every other form of discipline requires. Set standards and maintain them. Decide what behaviors align with who you want to be. Then do those behaviors even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. This is how you build identity through action, rather than hoping action will spontaneously emerge from identity. Embrace productive discomfort. Stop avoiding everything that feels hard. Not everything uncomfortable is bad. Some discomfort is growth happening in real time. Learn to distinguish between productive discomfort, challenge, stretch, development, and destructive discomfort, harm,
damage, unsustainability. Seek the first, avoid the second, but stop avoiding all discomfort as if it's the enemy. Discipline will rise again, but only if we rise first. Every broken generation was preceded by a strong generation that failed to pass on what they learned. The cycle is predictable. Struggle produces discipline. Discipline produces prosperity. Prosperity produces comfort. Comfort produces weakness. Weakness produces struggle. We're in the comfort-producing weakness phase, but that means the next phase, the struggle that produces discipline, is coming. You can wait for that struggle to be forced upon you. Wait for circumstances to become so difficult that discipline is no longer an option. Or you can choose discipline now, voluntarily, while it's still a choice, before it becomes a desperate necessity. And in making that choice, you don't just save yourself. You become the person who breaks the cycle, the person who passes on strength instead of weakness, the person who shows the next generation that discipline isn't punishment, it's power. This is where we are, at the end of the most comfortable, most convenient, most undisciplined era in human history, standing at the edge of consequences we've been avoiding for decades. You can continue down the path of least resistance. You can keep choosing comfort over challenge, ease over effort, indulgence over discipline. The culture will support you. Most people will join you. No one will call you out because they're doing the same thing. And you'll be comfortable right up until the moment when your lack of discipline collapses into consequences you can't avoid. Or you can choose differently. You can decide that you're going to be strong in a generation of weakness, disciplined in a culture of indulgence, structured in an age of chaos. You'll stand out. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be called extreme by people who have normalized mediocrity. You'll be lonely sometimes because most people aren't walking this path. But you'll be strong, actually strong. Not just physically, though that too, but mentally strong, emotionally resilient, spiritually grounded. You'll be free, actually free, not from constraints, but from the slavery of your own uncontrolled impulses. You'll be complete, a fully developed human being, not just potential waiting to be realized, but capability actively being expressed. This is the choice, comfort or strength, ease or freedom, the death of discipline or its rebirth. One person at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. Discipline will rise again. The only question is whether you'll rise with it. This is mind armor. This is where the broken generation becomes the rebuilding generation. This is where weakness transforms into strength. Welcome to the revival.
This is the lie at the heart of the modern comfort cult. The idea that freedom means having no constraints, no rules, no discipline. That the freer you are, the less structure you have. But look at what that actually produces. Look at someone who lives with zero structure, zero discipline, zero standards for themselves. Are they free? Or are they slaves to every whim, every craving, every passing mood? Are they empowered? Or are they at the mercy of external circumstances, unable to do anything difficult, anything that requires sustained effort? Are they content? Or are they plagued by a vague but persistent sense that life should mean more than this endless cycle of distraction and comfort-seeking? The disciplined person looks strict from the outside. They have routines, standards, commitments. They say no to things that undisciplined people say yes to. They do things that undisciplined people avoid. But in truth, they're free, because they control what others obey. They're not controlled by hunger, so they can choose what to eat based on their health goals, not their cravings. They're not controlled by fatigue, so they can show up consistently even when they don't feel like it. They're not controlled by other people's opinions, so they can live according to their own values. This is real freedom,
not the absence of constraints, but the presence of self-mastery.